Welcome to the Fatherhood Challenge, a movement to awaken and inspire fathers everywhere to take great pride in their role and to challenge society to understand how important fathers are to the stability and culture of their family's environment. Now, here's your host, Jonathan Guerrero.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always good to have you with me. I'm so excited. I've been trying to get him on the program for quite a while, and I finally got him on, and I'm so excited. And you'll understand why I was so excited to have him on. My guest is Jake Endling. Jake is the author of The New Daddy Experience. So I can't wait to get into it and talk about this book with you and with him. So before we get started, I like to keep our tradition as much as possible and start out with a dad joke. So Jake, what is your favorite dad joke?
Mine is, why did an old man fall in a well?
Why is that?
Because he couldn't see that well. Pretty lame, but dad jokes are lame, and
It's
can't
a dad
see well
joke
without my contacts. So
it's a dad joke. It's okay for it to be lame.
heck yeah, man.
And they're still funny. And that's the fun. That's just the thing about it. They're still funny. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
So until the past month or so, I've never heard of dad coaches. What is a dad coach, and why would a new dad want one?
I firmly believe that in order to be the best first-time dad with your baby, you need to know what dads have experienced that already, have gone through this thing and can like do like a brain dump. Like I need to take what I would like to know what an experienced dad has learned, put it in my mind so I can be the best first time expecting dad, brand new dad that I can be, And for me and many other dads that I've talked to and everything like that, they all want that information. They want to be the best they can be, but you don't know what you don't know. So I wrote a book. After having 7 kids, I figured I had some experience, that I can share. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I'll give you a framework to follow that has helped us with our 7 kids. So that's a long answer to a short question.
Jake, we don't really talk as dads. I mean,
No.
Not like mothers do amongst other mothers. Like we don't really talk, do we?
No, everything's good. Surface level's great. And we hide those insecurities, our quote unquote demons, for lack of a better term. And we don't want to look weak. We don't want to ask for help. And even though I think we need more help than women do most of the time, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, relationally, we all experience the same things, but we all think we're on our own little island,
Is that what made you start working with new dads? Or what was your own experience like?
Yeah, 100%. My experience, we had some good births, and then we had one birth that was very traumatic. My wife and baby almost died. It was a 32-week-old baby. He was 3 pounds when he was born. He was in the NICU for 47 days. It was our second child, and we were completely lost. It was from everything. I didn't know what to do. From helping my wife. We had a 10-month-old, and then we have this brand new one, and I have work, and we had just moved to a new city like less than a year ago, so we didn't have any like network to help and support us. It was a roller coaster ride, and then as more kids come into the picture and family dynamics and how you provide and support and burn yourself out. Like literally you just burn yourself right out if you're not self-aware of what's happening. So looking back on the past decade, and then with different things we've learned along the way, like the 5 types of baby cries, the um, mindset, perspectives, expectations, um, and just what things happen when it's a big undertaking for a brand new dad going into it. So I felt the urge to get that out there into a book form, and I have a little bit of a podcast, but the book was the first main thing I wanted to give out, and yeah, so that's kind of where what drove me to do it.
Birth trauma is kind of a new word in my vocabulary. I mean, a very, very new word. And I think a lot of that, a lot of birth trauma is not only just experiential, but I think it revolves around the anxiety of not really understanding or knowing what to expect. So when the unexpected happens, it creates its own trauma event for that reason alone. And so I read your book. I read your book cover to cover. And as I'm reading through this book, this loud question is in my mind, which is, where was this book? Where was this information when I needed it the most when I had my first child? And fortunately, it's not too late for dads now, which is why we're doing this conversation in the first place, because there are dads right now listening to this who will be able to take advantage and benefit from this and hopefully not have such a traumatic experience. So I'm really grateful you did this work and that you're even here to talk about this.
Well, thank you so much. Uh, that's that was kind of my goal, you know. I wish you had it too. You know.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
By the way, how old are your kids?
I have, as of this moment, I have a 7-year old and I have a 10-year old.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm a little ways from that new experience and whatnot. But I have to say, back when I had my first one, my first child, there just wasn't much out there for new dads as far as resources. There was a lot out there for new moms, just not much out there for new dads. And that kind of goes into my next question, which is, what are the differences in availability of resources for new moms versus new dads as of today?
I think if you do a quick Google search, you'll find that a lot of the up until a couple years ago, everything for dads has been like based off of like kind of like joking matter, you know, like, hey, I'm a new dad, you know, dude to dad. Like, it's all surface level. It doesn't help you,
Mm,
to be honest. And moms have like these in-depth things, blogs and resources and videos and 2 inch and 3 inch like thick books and um, all the help from the medical field, you know, whether it be doulas or OBGYNs and hospitals and pamphlets and folders and binders and all these things. And then dad's information is just like, support your woman. You know, like, oh, get ready for the cravings, you know. Oh, hey, I got a couple questions here, like in Facebook groups that I've been in for a few years. It's like, hey, I'm about to have my first kid. Do you guys have any advice? And most of the answers are, dude, you'll figure it out. It'll come naturally. You know, get ready for the cravings. Watch out for the crazy mood swings. Just say yes, dear. You know, like this stuff that does not help you at all. Um, so that's going away slowly. And what I've found in my research too is Australia and Europe, like England, they have some really good. They're further advanced in their new dad education material, and I mentioned that in the book. Um, so it's coming around for dads, but you know there's not nearly as much stuff out there, especially the stuff that's like real and actionable and you can like um, trust. Another thing, one more thing is that there's videos and blogs and books for dads, but like, how do you know what their qualifications are? You
Hmm.
know, I read one book and it was like 25 pages in until he even mentioned like something worthwhile as advice. It was just his story about his first child being born and he only has one kid. Not not saying that's not um plausible or anything like that. Like that's awesome. He wrote a book too, so he has a good heart. But if you're a new dad striving and craving information and you have a limited amount of time, like that's not a good resource.
Yeah, and
It
as you were describing some of the groups that you've been in, and you've seen some of the answers and the discussions that are taking place in some of these groups, if you could have seen my face while you were describing that, I was sitting here cringing because I've seen all of that. It's insulting, actually, because it implies that we don't have emotions, that we are, quite frankly, expendable. And so a lot of dads are getting that message and they're just checked out. It's not because they don't want to be involved, it's because the message that they're being told is that you're frankly not needed. You're not important, you're not essential, and your role really is not important until much later on in that child's life. And so that's the message that they're getting and the behavior reflects it. And that's really sad because the ones who suffer the most from that attitude are the mothers and the children.
yes,
And I
and there's
find that
even
unacceptable, which is why, again, why another reason why we're having this conversation.
yeah, and to even go one, I'm glad you said that too, because to even go one level further is there's scientific research now that proves that the physical brain development and makeup of a baby, any baby, is more developed if there's a father figure around from early pregnancy through birth all the way through like year 1 and year 2. Like those first 1,000 days, which start,
Oh, yes.
yeah, it's literally like having a male figure around develops your baby's brain better than not having it. So like they're literally like limiting the brain capacity of your baby by not being around and not being educated. That's another thing that just drives me nuts. Um, and another reason why I have this book out, because there's an app for this that helps dads, and it's called Oliiki, and it's another thing. It's mentioned in my book. It's Olikki, Oliiki app.com or something like that, and it I don't know, it's awesome. But yeah, so brain development, dad has a direct impact on it, and that's never talked about.
I know exactly who you're talking about too. It was developed by Claire Stead.
Yes,
And I had her
she's
on the
amazing.
program, and I don't remember if she was on your program or you were on her program.
I was on
Um,
hers actually.
okay, yeah, you were on her program then. Yes. She is absolutely amazing, and the app she developed, yes, is absolutely a game changer. They're just simple little things that any dad can do that make a that every one of these tasks will make a very big difference and impact in your child's development within the first 1,000 days. Little things that any dad can do. There's no reason to sit on the sideline. And you're absolutely right. The science proves that dads are essential in those first 1,000 days. And now there's an app that can even act like a manual for you. We like manuals.
Yep.
We're used to that. I mean, but most of us, yes, when it comes to things, we like to have a manual with it if we don't understand it so we can figure it out. And now there is one in this app. So there are resources now that weren't around then. So there's absolutely no reason now not to get involved. And so, yeah, Jake's right. Don't believe all the nonsense that's out there that dads are bumbling fools and they don't know what they're doing. And so dads are not important. So go sit on the sideline, let the mother do everything. No, it's all garbage.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm totally excited about that. And And I have been sitting here just itching to get at my next thought because I read this book and I love all the chapters in the book, but the one that I got absolutely fired up about is the one in chapter 2, and it's on the 5 baby cries. And this is another one where I just beat my fist on the table and just yelled out, "Where was this? I would have loved to have known this when I had my first child. Where was this?" So, this chapter is an absolute game changer for new dads. So, could you share some examples or stories on how understanding those 5 cries can change the dynamics of a new family?
Absolutely. And honestly, my wife found this. It's called the Dunstan baby language. It is developed by Priscilla Dunstan, and she there's 5 different types of baby cries. Like it takes a little bit to learn, but one of the most frequent ones and easiest ones to identify is nah. It's like N-A-A-A, nah, nah, where your tongue starts at the top of the mouth and comes down. Nah, and that's hunger. And that's one of the first sounds your baby will make. Babies communicate 100% of the time. And the reason they cry is because they need something, or they are gassy, or there's something wrong, right? And if you can know what to listen for, and it's not immediate, it takes a couple weeks to identify, but we've used this on every single one of our babies, and it is, I tell you, amazing. Because if you know what the baby needs, and then you can meet that need quicker, they cry less. There's less stress between mommy and daddy. There's less stress between mommy and the baby. The the house is quieter. You're more rested. Like it can go, you're more rested to go for work or for just pleasure or just everything. It's absolutely game changing. You're right, and it's definitely helped us. And if you have not heard of it before, don't feel bad, because in the 12 years of us like being in the baby space and stuff and having 7 kids and being in different hospitals and the NICUs and doctors and nurses and people that I've talked to, and there's only been 8 in the last 12 years that have heard of this before, medical people included. Like, so it's, so don't feel bad if you don't know, but now you know.
Okay, I sat here trying to keep my mouth shut because as you're trying to talk about this, I'm so excited about this. Yes, I remember sitting there listening to my son cry and hearing that nah, nah. And
Yeah.
then I thought, well, that's interesting. I sure wonder what that means. I don't have no idea what that is. And then kind of trial and error trying to figure it out, and felt like I felt like I was getting nowhere. And then the oddest thing, my second one comes along, and then when he's born, he cried the same cries. And I still had no clue what I was doing or what it meant.
Yeah, but it's not your fault, you know? Um, and it's hard to tell, even though, I mean, the 3 things are they're either hungry, they're wet, or they need to poop or something like that, right? Like those are kind of the 3 basic things you check for first when the baby starts to cry. Um, and just to get a little bit deeper is suggest that once the baby's born, if the nurses are good nurses, they tell you to track what the baby does for like the first 24 or 48 hours or whatever. And you can continue that on. But if you're feeding every 3 hours and, the the baby is dry, they burped well at the last feeding, it's about 2 hours and 15 minutes after the previous feeding, and they're starting to cry, and nah, 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 they're hungry, like you can feed them. And so that's another thing we did was that first like week, you try to like track what the baby does, and then that will help you learn the type of cry faster, because you should be able to eliminate and know the baby's schedule better, if that makes sense.
Dads, did you hear that? The code has been cracked on the baby cries. I hope you were listening to that. So I'm going to give you a big hint right now. Go pick up the book. It's called The New Daddy Experience. Then, if you want to read all the other chapters, actually do. You should read every single one of them. But if you're really interested in the baby cries, you can skip right to chapter 2. The chapter is literally called The 5 Baby Cries, and it's all there. Everything you need to know, it's all in there. Read the chapter once, read it twice, read it 3 times if you need to read it. Memorize every single one of those 5 baby cries.
It's not like absolute, I want to throw this disclaimer in there, like we still have, with our 7th and 5th and 6th, we still had the 45 minutes of solid wailing at 3 a.m, when you're half awake and you can't do anything. They they have an air pocket in their belly that they can't burp out, or they need to fart or poop or something like that. Still, you still have that, but you definitely know and understand your baby more, because you have to look at how it's making the sound and how the mouth is forming. Sometimes it's like an oval shape, or and stuff too. So yeah, but Dunstan Baby Language, go check it out.
I have an unusual question. Do dads get postpartum depression?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's not talked about, not shared about. But recently, studies are coming out more that like 3 in 10 dads get postpartum depression, get some sort of depression in the first year of the baby's life. And that's 100% true. And I think it's more. I think it's more like 60%, 6 out of 10 dads, because your whole life's changing, everything. And you have this like new life that you're living with this new little human that you're 100% responsible for. You have your wife or your partner, and you're responsible for them now. Maybe they're not, hopefully they're able to stay home with the baby as long as possible. And then, it's everything's riding on your shoulders. So absolutely you get postpartum depression. I kind of call it, because I've experienced it, and I call it more like of a situational depression and a situational anxiety. Because we don't, as men, we don't want to be labeled as having depression, or we don't want to be labeled as being anxious or having anxiety about things. And, but we do. And it's real. It's an emotion you need to feel. And it might hang around for a week or 2 or 3, like kind of down in the dumps. Like, again, with men, we close up. We don't talk about things. If you talk about it with another dad that has had a baby, you guys will probably have the same conversation. Like, yep, I've experienced that too. Or, oh yeah, like, I didn't feel like super depressed, but yeah, I was down for a while, like, not like almost every emotion you have as a new dad, every other one of us has had too. So don't be ashamed or scared to talk about it, because it just helps. You can't, like, what are they going to, if someone makes fun of you for it, like, who cares? Like, so they're not feeding your kid, like, go to the next one. Like, did they make you feel bad? So what? It's life. Like, get over it and ask another dude, like, it's not like we're in elementary school here. We, you hurt my feelings, you got to grow up a little bit and just ask. So, at the other end of that is, if it lasts longer, and this is just my random dad advice. I'm no medical professional or anything like that, or psychiatrist or psychologist, but if you can't kick these like feelings, after like a month, then, seek out some professional help, is my advice. And then they can help you. But, Absolutely. And it's okay to also to mourn that old self, your old life, you know? And with that being said, make sure that you and your wife schedule time for just yourselves. Like mommy has time just for her and you have time just for you. And like maybe she is just alone for 3 hours, or goes shopping by herself or catches up with some friends. And you do the same thing. Like maybe if you used to golf with your golf buddies, go play like, 9 holes instead of 18, but make sure it's okay with mommy. And another thing, this is the most important thing, is talk about your emotions with your woman, with your wife, with your girl. Because because that eliminates any problems or fights, or avoids some fights or confrontational talk, or someone just exploding on your wife about like something's like spilled milk or a dirty baby bottle or something like that. Like you need to get those emotions out and those feelings out and share them with her. One, it'll make her feel more closer to you, and two, it gets them off your chest. Three, she knows that you're kind of down in the dumps a little bit, and there's just nothing bad that can come from communicating your depressive or anxiety feelings.
New dads out there listening, we are here with Jake Endling. We are talking about his new book, The New Daddy Experience. If you go to thefatherhoodchallenge.com, that's thefatherhoodchallenge.com, and you go to this episode description, right below the description will be the link to be able to get this book. You'll be able to click right on the link. It'll take you right to where you can purchase this book. Furthermore, we were talking about the Oliiki app. I will also put a link there where you can access information about the Oliiki app. It will tell you how you can get the Oliiki app and what to expect. All that information will be there. So do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, and go ahead and get this book and read it cover to cover. I can promise you, I've read it. You will not regret it. So as we close, Jake, what is your challenge for new dads listening right now?
I would go purchase one, my book, but two, more importantly, is the 5 types of baby cries, which is Dunstan Baby Language. They have a course. It's an online course, simple. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. It's like $40, and that will teach you the 5 types of baby cries in a couple hours. That's my challenge to you. So if you really care about your baby's development and the health of your family, go do that.
I will put that link also below the episode description, so that way you can take advantage of Jake's challenge and actually do it, to take action on it. Jake, that's our time. Thank you so much for being on the program with us. I'm really grateful for it.
Oh, it was my pleasure, and I'm very humbled and honored to be here too, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fatherhood Challenge. If you would like to contact us, listen to other episodes, find any resource mentioned in this program, or find out more information about the Fatherhood Challenge, please visit thefatherhoodchallenge.com. That's thefatherhoodchallenge.com.